Hello, I am Tara, and welcome to Tara's Mental Calibration. So, here's the disclaimer, y'all. I'm not a professional. I do recommend therapy. I highly recommend therapy for any kind of trauma, healing, or recovery you may be going through. Um, Also, throwing in the trigger warning for topics that I talk about may trigger some things within you. And just anything that bothers you, just stop the podcast and ground yourself. So today we're going to talk about parentification. I know that I'm probably triggered. I'm probably um, messing that word up, but parentification trauma. And after what I talked about in my last podcast, the things when it came to my dad, when it came to my mom, just certain things that it came down to was me having to be a grown up as a child. I was forced into some very adult situations when I was a child and had to learn how to cope as an adult. The meaning of there's two different things. There's emotional and instrumental parentification. I highly recommend you look up the definition yourself and see how it may or may not apply to you. Um, but yeah, it's really when a child is forced into a caregiver mode, or a caregiver role, um, assuming like adult emotions, being forced to make adult decisions, things like that. For me, I was forced into nurturing my parents versus them nurturing me. So if I needed nurturing, like if I was sick, I was made to feel as if I was a burden, and there should be nothing wrong with me. As a child, we normally see our parents as superheroes. And at least I would think so. I never saw my parents like that, but I would assume that in like a healthier environment, children, tend to see their parents um, as almost like a superhero. They they're perfect, or they know everything, or nothing can go wrong with them. You know, I would think that as a child, you look up to your parents like that if it's a healthier environment. For me, if something was wrong with me, or if I was sick, or I needed my parents, they made me feel like I was failing them because I had human things going on with me. As an adult, I have intracranial hypertension. I have CPTSD. I have psoriatic arthritis. Um, I have all these things going on with me that probably started when I was a child, and I had a lot of symptoms. I had a lot of headaches. Um, I had a lot of things going on with me, but I never was allowed to have them looked at. Like, I didn't go to the doctor very often. It was made to be like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. If something's wrong with you, then that means I have nobody to lean on. And it would put that pressure on me that I needed to put my needs to the back burner in order to be there and be solid for my parents and to be able to guide them. And it, it was very stressful for me to do that. So they always made me feel guilty for needing their nurturing, and they would just make it about themselves. And because of this caused chronic people pleasing on my side. I had a lack of boundaries. I had a lost childhood where as an adult, I don't know how to have fun. I don't know how to just relax. When I do relax, let's say I take a Benadryl because my allergies are acting up. We all know that Benadryl will knock you out, like Benadryl will make you fall asleep. And if I feel that relaxation feeling without the adrenaline, I feel like something is wrong and my body tries to put it back. Because to me, adrenaline pumping through my body is normal. And so anything else can be extremely uncomfortable. Um, so it did lead to chronic people pleasing, lack of boundaries, a lost childhood, not truly knowing how to have fun, and lots of hypervigilance. Um, I always feel like I have to be on point. And when I'm not on point, and if somebody helps me, I instantly feel like a burden. Even if that person is not making me feel like a burden, I feel like a burden because of what's been programmed in my mind. Um, I have always felt as if I have excessive responsibilities over others, taking on the parent role, even when they're not asking for it. Like if a person is like, I'm not feeling good today, or I'm just having a bad day, I instantly ask, what can I do to help you? Even if they're not asking for it, even if they're just venting and it's not meant for me to step in and help, I feel like I have to step in and help. Um, it's almost like I try to be the perfect friend or be the perfect spouse or be the perfect sibling, which not so much anymore because I've kind of cut off a lot of people who took that for granted, family included. But, it's just that I tried to be perfect, um, feeling as if I was too much to handle just by being human. And I would suppress my own needs and I got burnt out. And when I went through my burnout stage, I'm still currently in trying to relight my candle in my burnout stage. So, you know, I felt worthless when I wasn't serving somebody else. When I went through my whole burnout phase and I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And I really had no choice because it was coming out in my health. It was coming out in body pain. It was coming out in nightmares. It was coming out in so many different ways. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I am worthless to people now since I cannot serve them. But see, these are the people that I kept myself around. So it's like they didn't want me to be on a healed version. They were not okay with me saying, look, you take care of you and I'll take care of me and we can still coexist and be friends or be family. They didn't want it that way. They wanted me to handle what everything I was going to handle and handle myself too. So it's like they wanted me to keep prioritizing them over myself because they got a lot out of it. So, feeling when I decided to stop doing that, I felt worthless because those people who took that for granted, who programmed that in my mind and in my body and in my soul, they didn't want to have anything to do with the healed or the healing version of myself. And that's when I knew that these people had a hand in keeping me down. I am a very self accountable person. So I know I had a huge hand in my own trauma, at least as an adult. When I was a child, not so much. So it's like as an adult, I have to constantly do that inner child work and telling myself that I am going to be there for myself like no other. And having to and learning how to trust myself has been really difficult because I have allowed so many things um in my life, but I've had to forgive myself because I didn't know any better at the time. I didn't know that that wasn't normal. But once I did know it was normal, once I knew it was not normal, I changed it. And it's been very difficult. Healing has healing has involved recognizing the trauma, setting boundaries, and separating my needs from others' needs. I have to exercise self-worth. Therapy has helped me with building a healing plan. Um, I need to allow fun in. Once I recognize what fun is, I have to allow that in. And a long time to ground in between helps me a lot. I really do try to meditate. I try to meditate. I try to handle relaxation. I still get really antsy with it. I have a hard time with relaxation. There was a there was a meditation affirmation video I was listening to the other day, and it was about self-worth, and I couldn't get all the way through it because it triggered me. Because my idea of worth is doing deeds, and this video was not coinciding with what I've been programmed um into thinking. So trying to break the program has been a challenge, but I am doing it little by little. So another thing about parentified children, um, that grow into adults, we have a sense of having excessive responsibility, feeling responsible for everybody, parenting parents, parenting adults, parenting everybody, being hyper independent, self reliant, not allowing in help, avoiding asking for help, and insisting on managing things by myself, has been a strong thing that I do. Um, I had a very mature behavior at a young age. I didn't really engage in being a child or cutting loose, or it's like now I don't really smile. I kind of smirk. I smile on the inside. Um, and having the boundary struggles, that's been really difficult. Um, I do have very high rates of anxiety. I get bouts of depression. I definitely get burnt out and emotionally exhausted. The more that I do healing work, it really does help to do the healing work. It just, it will make you emotionally exhausted. So it's very important to not do too much at once. And I absolutely do a lot, especially since I want to get through it so much. You get tired of carrying the weight of not just things for yourself, but you get tired of carrying the weight for others. So it has been really important for me to take a step back and realize how heavy everything was. And it does get better. Some days are better than others. There's no such thing as a perfect day. Um, but I'm not going to sit there and say that the healing recovery journey has been a bunch of roses, because it has not. It has been a lot of work. But the beautiful part of that is that I can sleep. I used to not be able to sleep. I know that I've said that before, probably in one of my other podcasts, but sleeping has been a very difficult thing for me to do. And I can at least sleep at night now and wake up and knowing that the only person I have to take care of is me. This would be different if I had a child. Um, this would be different if I had, you know, somebody younger than me to take care of. So I know that a lot of you listening, you have children, you have priorities, you have, other things, but there is a way to balance that. And that's where you either research yourself and be very accountable and very aware of what it is that you need to balance it, or have a professional therapist help you um, with your journey, because I don't recommend taking it all on your own at all. It can definitely lead to burnout, and burnout can come out not just from exhaustion and not just from feeling tired, but it can come out in your health. Your body, when it's tired, is not as on point when it comes to your immune system. For me, I have all the things that I listed prior, previously, and also, like celiac. I All these things kicked off all at once when I had a very stressful turn of events, and it like triggered everything in my body. I also have fibromyalgia. So these are all things that is triggered from stress. These are all things that are triggered from um, your nervous system not being balanced out. So it's important to not wait until it's too late. If you start seeing things, you need to talk things out. You need to start changing things. You don't have to change everything all at once, but just taking a step to do it is important, and not being guilty about doing it. Slow movement is better than no movement, and I can't express that enough. So that is the podcast for today. If you have anything that you would like to discuss, or if you have anything to comment or say about today's episode, please feel free to email me at terrasmentalcalibration@gmail.com. That is the name of my podcast with no spaces, at gmail.com. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you, and I will see you or talk to you next week. Bye.